And how do you feel like your art has your art helped in overcoming discrimination?
I feel art in general, not just mine, is like a as a community is anti-discriminative. I feel like a lot of that came from skateboarding too. Um, Skateboarding as a culture in America was we were outcasted. You know, it's not legal anywhere. It's shunned upon. Everyone's kicking you out, calling the cops on you constantly. So, um, growing up with, you know, as a white kid in a Hispanic neighborhood and as a skateboarder and all my friends being of color, that there wasn't there wasn't any hatred in my little microcosm of Salinas. We there was no like racial discrimination. When we ventured outside of our neighborhood, we would then see it. Um, and as skateboarders, we always felt like we were discriminated on. So in that whole progression, um, it's just been like a venturing out into the world is when I first got to realize how much discrimination was actually happening because I lived in such a small little space, you know? And the artwork, I mean, obviously, just the messages that I was trying to send with my artwork and promoting beauty um, in color, you know, is one of my big things. I try to use all the colors and promote that all colors are like I use the rainbow often in my paintings to include everybody's emotional state. Because at any point in time, we are all one color. We could be vibing yellow today, we could be red at any moment. And the idea for that amount of color is to be all inclusive. Um, I did that with the first stained glass painting that I did. And a lot of the paintings moving forward, the George Floyd one is a simple reminder. Like, it's just to be in your face and to remind people constantly about what's happening. And hopefully that has had an effect on somebody. It's raised an emotion in somebody somehow. And then moving forward, like the panther with the face inside of it is like an expression of how America portrays the black community as like angry and scary. Like they propagandally put that on the African community. And I used it as strength because it should be seen as strength and not as something that the systemic racism has told you to believe that the black man is scary. And then the face inside is like the black man's true self that's inside of from what the racist sees of them. And then the jewels were to show like royalty um, and richness and black culture and black lives. And then the feathers were to like express like that they are native, like their native roots, they're native to America as America is, not like as in Northern America, but like um, the white community in America thinks that America is theirs, which they stole, brutally stole. And then they stole these people from their native land and then brought them here and then enslaved them and then ostracized them after they had no other option. Um, and so that's just like the whole representation of that piece. And then the end all racism is simply self explanatory. And then I did an Angela Davis because she was a Black Panther. The Black Panthers started here in Oakland. It's history that in school they teach you about as a negative thing when it was actually a beautiful thing. Um, the Black community coming together and taking care of themselves because the system was not supporting them, starting farms and schools and education. And then we did like teach youth the truth to like put a lot of people, smaller um, people who are just not represented in history books because the education system in America is so to teach you how great colonizers were and how evil and savage everyone else is. It's just like such a backwards, fucked up thing to teach children. It's not the truth. So we picked um, many different ethnicities and people who are left out of history books um, to educate the community on people who actually affected their community. Um, and one I painted is of Juana Alicia, who she worked with Cesar Chavez. She was trained by Diego Rivera's apprentices. She painted her first mural in San Francisco in 1983 of the lettuce fields in Salinas, and I wasn't even born yet. Um, so she's been a huge influence on my goals, like what I want to be as a person. You know, she's retired as a teacher and a muralist, and she said she would teach me everything she knows, which will be awesome when we get there. She's been in Mexico because why come back right now? you know, and then we did Yuri Kochiyama, who was like the woman who was holding Malcolm X in the pictures when he was assassinated. Howard Zinn wrote The People's History. Um, I just did a stained glass with the resist fist and an eye, also like inlaced in gold trim with jewels to show like the power and the richness and the royalty that is resistance to your government, and to constantly, no matter what side of the spectrum you lean towards, to hold them accountable and to not let them become corrupt politicians. And that it's our job as a society, as artists, as the people, because in our Constitution, it says we the people. It's we elect these people and they take advantage of their power and position. And it's for us to expose them constantly to try to build a better union, a better country, a better world, and a better place for everybody. And so, I mean, that's the goal right now with art: create beauty, um, use all of your influence. You're obligated to use your platform to promote justice, to expose people, to bring things to bring situations to people's eyes. Um, and that's like, just as an artist, that's just where I feel now. As a father, I feel responsible. I'm gonna be raising a girl in America. I want her to live in a different America that I grew up in. And I want her to know that I spent my time on earth using my talent to shine light on problems and situations and dedicate my time instead of working for the man and providing material things for her, which is like the American way. You know, you work hard, you don't take holiday, you spend as much money as you can, you stay poor, and you give your kids the nicest Jordans you can get. And that's what's important. It's just not, it's backwards. You know, I want to teach my daughter culture. I want to teach her politics, the true history of America, so that she can make conscious decisions with her life about who she wants to be and what kind of effort she wants to put forth in her life.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm gonna pass it over to Katya, and I think she has a question for you.
Okay.
Yes, I do. I think it's really visible, and I think it's really fascinating to me that your art really tells a story. That you kind of use art to express your opinions and to try to reach people and make a change. And I want to ask you, like, um, what's the like why is telling story with art different than just saying it with words? Why is it that you choose this way, and for example not I don't know, talking to people?
Well, you got to do both. Obviously, you got to have the conversation constantly. And I do. We do a lot of talking and a lot of speaking, a lot of learning, a lot of reading. Um, I mean, I do write things in my sketchbook. You'll find poems, and I'll create in other ways. than just artwork. I like that the story being told is public, and that you could say a lot with the picture, to where if I were to write something public, it would be a lot of words. I already talk a lot in just this interview. And when you drive by, you couldn't read that. But when you drive by, you could feel the painting, you could see the painting, and it could say a lot. It's not that I chose that. I don't think that I chose that medium to express myself. I just think it was the path, like the path just wound up that way. And writers write, and photographers take photos. I've taken photos. Reporters report, but it's very important to me to tell the story with pictures. I feel like I could create beauty in the story without words, and make people feel it, like feel the painting without words. I also feel like I have the words sometimes to also do the same thing. A conversation is usually between a person, unless you're doing like speaking engagements. Whereas a public piece of artwork, it's public and it stays, well, as long as it stays. Not, they don't all stay. A lot of those paintings, they won't stay there. They will then get preserved after that. But I feel like just pictures can hold up over time, and there are people that are writing, and writers are writers and artists are artists, and not that either of them couldn't do the other. I just, I like I said, I was drawing in daycare, and so it just kind of wound up that way. I didn't like reading and writing. I liked painting. So I just I love and found a way to translate my ideas.
And you also talked about community a lot. How do you see the role of community when dealing with discrimination, and how do you find your community now? For example,
Well, I
you
think
mentioned that one of the things you did, you actually moved to find it, right?
yes, absolutely. And in Salinas, when I was first doing it, community has always been a huge thing for me. Growing up in a Hispanic neighborhood, family is so important. Like, my friends' grandparents lived at their house, their uncles lived at their house, their entire family would live at their house, and they would do huge cook-offs. And it was just a thing that didn't happen in my immediate home, that like I just fell in love with, like the abundance of food, the like abundance of family, and how you just take care of your family. And I quickly started my own crew to grow a community. And then and then Delancey Street is just community. And racism and discrimination starts in a community. Like, it's a learned behavior. You're not born discriminative or born racist. You learn that from your community. So everything, all the change is going to start in the community. Obviously, the powers that be need to be involved, and people need to speak up, which we're having that movement. But everything starts in the community. People who have a community of just one, without diversity, communities without diversity, no matter where you are in the world, just tend to be afraid of what they don't know. And that's just true. Culturally, there will be impact on like the way a culture believes about discrimination or whatnot. But if there were a tiny green Martian land in your front yard in a spaceship, and you walked outside and you seen a green Martian, your first instinct would be fear, because you don't know what that is. You don't speak the language. You can't communicate. You don't know what he wants. You don't know if he's there to harm you. And you don't, oh, I died.
Oh, you're still.
Okay.
Oh, where we left off, we only have two more questions or so. So
Okay, cool.
yeah, thank you again for taking the time to talk to us. Uh, You've really shared some really interesting things with us, and we're very, very grateful for it.
Thank you.
So Katya, you wanna ask the your next question?
Yes. So I will use this change of setting now that you're in your car, and I will ask you something a bit more personal because before you talked about the role of community, when dealing with discrimination or when, having this character building. But I also wanted to talk about you about self-care. What do you think is the role of self-care when dealing with discrimination, and how do you practice it?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, talking about the things and the way they affect me. I talk to my partner a lot, and I have a friend who I talk to a lot about things that maybe get underneath my skin. But also my art community. A lot of like the conversations that we have about discrimination, about our role as artists, our role as people in situations. There's conversations constantly going on. My friend Irene, I talk to maybe the most about um, just what our goals are, like what our responsibilities are. Because a lot of the things right now that are at the forefront of the movement that's happening, a lot of the times my responsibility is to just listen. And obviously, many people ask me questions, and I don't mind answering all the questions that I get asked. But there's often times when I'm in situations where the best thing for me is to just listen to other people. And so me and Irene, when we go through things, there's been many of like outreach that has to do with the artwork that's going on around us. And oftentimes I will just defer the people to my friends of color, which helps because they're underrepresented. The the LGBTQ community is underrepresented. The Black, Brown, Native American, um, all communities are underrepresented when it comes to artwork, when it comes to the publications. And so oftentimes I'll just defer to other people. Um, and just the painting in my itself is self care. It's just such a good like exercise, and you just at the end of it you just feel so like your life has meaning, and it puts you back in the center. And in Delancey Street, I mean, I spent 4 years learning how to deal with my emotions, and so I've gotten really good at being able to take how I feel, express it verbally, for the truth on how I feel instead of express it with anger, or to respond to the way I feel instead of to react to the way I feel, I guess is my best. I mean, I meditate. Meditation helps me sleep. That's a thing that I do. Um, and I should probably exercise more than I do right now. That would probably help with my self love.
Thank you for answering this a bit more personal question. I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts on it because you seem like a really interesting person. And I will now pass the virtual mic again to Sam to conclude this slowly.
All right.
So yeah, this will be our last question, and basically we want to know what message do you have for the youth, for youngsters who maybe want to pursue a career in art or use art of as a way to protest or to bring up the topics of social justice?
I would tell the youth that's growing up to find what they love to do and just do the shit out of it. If you just do what you love to do and you do it to the fullest, your community will come, your opportunities will come. Just find what you love to do and just do that, and it'll all manifest itself. Your energy will surround like-minded energy. Um, school's the path for many, not the path for everybody. Some it's sports, some it's art, some it's writing, some it's music. But just do it. Just do it always. And if you do it always, it'll work out. If you wanna pursue artwork, just do art and find a community and talk. Put your artwork out there. Um, Talk to everybody who stops by and talk to them. You never know who you're talking to when you're talking to somebody. It could be your next opportunity. It could be just another friend that you make and provides more painting opportunity, which leads to more opportunity. Just keep painting. And if you want to use the platform to make a statement, educate yourself as much as you can. Whatever statement, every time you take, every time you go to make a painting for a purpose, you're going to then learn more about the purpose. So educate, listen. Um, People have a lot to say. So listen as much as you can and just put yourself out there as much as you can. And the community will come. You will find it. You'll find your home. You'll find your friends, your sisters, your brothers. And in that community, as a community, you'll be unstoppable, is what I would tell the youth.
Beautiful, beautiful message. Thank you.
Thank you,
So
guys.
yeah, I think that concludes our side of it. Uh, Thank you again for taking the time. And yeah, do you have anything else to add, Katya?
Yeah, I also want to thank you, and I think a lot of young artists and a lot of people from different communities will find this conversation really interesting to listen, um, and um, and we'll also find your art really cool, and we'll probably learn more about you. And yeah, thanks also everyone that will watch this. And it was really nice to talk to you, Shawn.
It's nice to talk to you as well. Thank you so much.